It was a frigid morning on March 5th, 1953. A young pilot of the Communist Polish People's Army, Franciszek Jarecki, stood on the airfield in Słupsk, preparing for a routine training flight. He went through the briefing as he had done hundreds of times before. But that day, a thought flickered in his heart, one that would soon change his life forever. For several months, Jarecki had been contemplating an escape to the West from a country deeply entrenched in communism. His desire had grown so strong that it became more real with each passing day. He watched as his country sank deeper into Stalinism and his dreams of freedom melted away under the weight of ideology. He decided he could no longer wait. He knew the decision was incredibly risky, but the risk was a price he was willing to pay for freedom. Jarecki meticulously and carefully planned his escape. He knew his MiG-15 fighter jet, modern and fast, would give him an edge over any potential pursuers. He was familiar with the patrol routes and knew where the risk of detection was lowest. On that day, he felt the time was right. He checked the weather, cold but relatively calm. Ideal conditions for a flight over the Baltic Sea. As he entered the cockpit, Jarecki tried to remain calm. He was fully aware that every gesture, every word could give him away. He controlled his breathing as his hands, seemingly steady, went through the pre-flight checklist. The MiG-15's engine roared to life, and Jarecki felt the familiar vibrations of the machine as he finally took off. He climbed into the sky, ascending quickly as he had done hundreds of times before. But this time, his goal wasn't training. His destination was Denmark. At first, Jarecki flew according to the planned route to avoid raising suspicion. But after a few minutes, when he was far from the airfield, he suddenly and decisively changed course. He turned the aircraft northwest toward the Baltic Sea. He knew it was only a matter of time before someone on the ground noticed on the radar that something was wrong. His heart pounded like a hammer. He flew low, just above the surface of the sea, to avoid radar detection. The cockpit was eerily silent, broken only by the steady hum of the engine and Jarecki's breathing, which, despite his focus, quickened with his racing heartbeat. He knew there was no turning back. With every second, he moved farther away from Poland, unable to stop thinking, is the pursuit already on its way? Will I make it in time? He was approaching Denmark, a foreign country. Every minute felt like an eternity, but he was closing in on the point where he would finally have to land. As he neared the Danish island of Bornholm, Jarecki knew he had to quickly find a suitable place to land. The airfield at Rona was small, but sufficient to accommodate his MiG. He committed to the landing approach. One thought dominated his mind: don't mess this up now. The wheels touched the runway, and the plane roared as Jarecki braked on the short strip. He stepped out of the cockpit, feeling the tension leave his body. He knew his mission had succeeded, but he also knew there was no going back. He had done it. He had escaped to the West. Jarecki unzipped his flight suit and took a deep breath. The air smelled completely different now. He felt a sense of triumph, even as he was quickly surrounded by Danish soldiers, shocked by the sight of a Polish fighter jet on their airfield. He immediately requested political asylum, explaining that he was a defector from Communist Poland. Despite their surprise, the Danish authorities decided to help him. Jarecki was taken to a military base, and his MiG-15, a valuable technological trophy, immediately attracted the interest of Western intelligence services. After a few days, Jarecki was transported to the United States, where he was welcomed as a hero. His escape became a symbol of the fight for freedom and one of the significant blows dealt to the communist regime. For Jarecki, however, it was above all a personal battle for the chance to live in freedom, a battle he had won on that frigid March morning in 1953.